Hello, everyone. We are back and we are about to discuss the final eclipse in the Gemini Sagittarius polarity of our charts and collectively. But before we do that, I have a couple show notes. Number one, you gotta boost your immune system right now because eclipse seasons are known to kind of knock us out a little bit. They're known to diminish our vitality. And the reason why is because the sun and the moon are our life-giving lights. And when those are getting eclipsed, then that doesn't bode so well for our immunity. So if you can hear it, I have caught a cold and I feel fine. I'm just like insanely itchy in my face and my eyes. So you'll have to forgive me if I sneeze. Second of all, if you would like a personalized detailing on how these eclipses are working out for you, you have two ways to go about that. You can either join me on Patreon via the Moonrise tier, where you get a monthly video every month forecasting an extended forecast for your sun sign and for your rising sign. So you can do that to get the extended version of this video. You can also, for a limited time, book your eclipse mini reading. And that will encompass this final eclipse that is kind of wrapping up this last 18-month story. And we can talk about what this next axis is going to bring in. So the eclipses are basically activating a part of your chart that they've been activating for the last 18 months. And they're now about to start activating a new part of your chart for the next 18 months. So you can still book that through the end of this week on my website. And yeah, if you're here for just the general forecast for this eclipse, then I'm so happy you're here. Be sure to like and subscribe and share it with your friends. So let's talk about it. So we have this final eclipse that is going to be at 12 degrees Sagittarius in 22 minutes. And this is going to be happening in my time zone on December 4th. However, if you're on the west coast of the United States, this is going to be on December 3rd. So regardless, this is going to be an eclipse that wraps up a big story that's been happening. So if you know where you have Gemini and Sagittarius in your chart, think about those themes that have been coming up for you. This last eclipse is going to kind of summarize. It's going to bring some last minute perspective that kind of brings everything together. Because sometimes when you're in an earlier, when you're in the beginning of a new eclipse phase, we don't have the full story. Not everything has been revealed quite yet. But now that we're at the tail end of it, and it's ruled by Jupiter, which offers all kinds of perspective and elevated, zoomed out perspective. We should be getting a last pretty big message about what this last 18 months has been about for us in terms of what has shifted, because the eclipses will shift things around for us. We have so much free will, but it's the eclipses, when the hands of fate, when our 10 to 20 spirit guides are like, here, no, let me help you out. You're supposed to be over here. No, that's done. We're taking that out. So the eclipses can kind of rearrange things for us. And even if it's not directly happening to us, it's happening in the world around us, which means it's affecting the workplace. It's affecting our friends, our families, the world. So the world always goes a little nuts during eclipse season. So we already had the one. This is our second and last eclipse for this season. We'll have another one next spring, but that one will be all in the new polarity of Taurus Scorpio. So this new one this last one that's happening in Sagittarius is going to sum up some of the themes that we've been seeing, not just in our personal lives where we'll get the big aha. So pay attention to that. But there will also be kind of something that is like kind of a big conclusion, whether it's for better or for worse, around some of the themes that we've been seeing in the world. So let's recap a second, because we've had these eclipses happening in Gemini and Sagittarius since May of 2020. That's when the nodes shifted. The first eclipse was at the beginning of June of 2020. So basically, right around that first eclipse season was when George Floyd was murdered. And we saw the protests where people were just like, enough is enough. Like, we've been protesting this. We've been, trying to raise more attention to these issues for such a long time, and like enough is enough. So that was when a lot of people took to the streets. We saw statues toppling. We saw police stations on fire. I mean, like, these are big deal hot ticket items. And here at the end of the season, I don't want to get too deep into the political discussion, but it is a huge component of this theme here. We saw two major cases. We saw a white kid on trial for openly shooting people with an AK, and he got off, and that was like a huge blow for a lot of people. But then we had this simultaneous case where a black man was jogging, and three white dudes were like, hey, let's citizens arrest him, and they killed him. And so we had that case where we actually saw those three men pay for their crime, actually. So hopefully what I'm hoping to see from this series of eclipses is a shift. Hoping we've seen the conversation around institutionalized racism reach a point of major escalation where we're going to start to see big changes happen. Now, the other front that we've seen the Gemini-Sagittarius axis really show up is how the pandemic has become politicized. And you've seen people become highly opinionated on the matter. So we've seen the energies of the Gemini North Node become very emphasized, where it has encouraged us to open our minds to other ways that we can perceive something and be able to perceive something from multiple perspectives, that multiple things can be true at the same time, that there can be a global pandemic and we also hate it and want it to be over. There can also be, the Gemini North Node has also invited us to really dissect our language and to even create new language, or even to popularize a vaster option for language. We've seen this huge discussion around gender identity and pronouns, which has always been there, but like the other issues I've been talking about, have now elevated their collective importance and their collective awareness. So yeah, there's definitely more people paying attention now. Similarly, we have our South Node in Sagittarius, which has just really amplified the level of being opinionated and belief in this country and in the world. So we've seen that in a big way. And we've seen schools become a huge setting for us to figure out new ways to teach our kids, in this climate. And also thinking about the school board meetings where people are bringing their highly charged opinions about how the school should be handling a pandemic, and also racism, institutionalized racism, how we should handle squashing that in our educational system. So yeah, the schools have been a huge setting for a lot of these themes to be expressed. So with this last eclipse in Sagittarius, and again, eclipses are traditionally malefic. I don't like to be the bringer of bad news. Not to say that they can't do good things in our personal lives, because they can. I've seen that firsthand. But this eclipse, the chart of it is quite interesting, because the only aspect that this eclipse is making is a conjunction with Mercury, and Mercury's in its detriment in Sagittarius, which basically means that there's going to be some language. There's going to be something that comes out. Maybe it comes out in the wrong way. Maybe it's someone speaking their truth. Maybe it's a truth that only half the people listening will ever agree with. There's also, I can look at the ruler of the eclipse. So Jupiter is in a square to Mars. And this seems highly charged. This seems like there's a little bit of vitriol about to come out. Jupiter in a square to Mars is like a severely impassioned sentiment. Like there's a lot of energy behind this behind this eclipse. And I don't know. I just feel like there's going to be something around a speech or language or something written even that is just like really highly charged. I think right now, as we're starting to learn of this new variant, I think that's going to have a lot to do. I think people are getting fed up, whether it's no matter what side of the spectrum you're on, people are getting fed up. Nurses are just like, I saw this one nurse on the news this morning, and she was just like, yeah, morale is really low. We're all exhausted. We have nothing left to give. And now this next wave is coming. So yeah, I think people are just like hitting a breaking point. And there are people, for example, the nurses perhaps, who are also very opinionated, but they've been kind of staying professional and, staying very open to treating everyone. And I don't know, I just feel like there is going to be some kind of blowout here with Jupiter in a square to Mars and Scorpio. There's something very strategic here happening. And especially I think as we are starting to see the shift of eclipses move into Scorpio and Taurus, which you can watch in my other video, I really think fair wages and workers really just like getting the kind of fair wages and treatment that they deserve is going to continue to be a huge topic. So we've already started to bring that theme in. So this eclipse is going to be kind of a bridge. So I see people hitting breaking point. I see people just going off verbally. And yeah, but if you want to know how this is going to be showing up in your personal life, then stay tuned and join me on Patreon for your personalized forecast for this eclipse. And also just be, we can be watching what's happening in the world, and of course we're participating. But the most important thing is that this is going to be the final eclipse in Sagittarius happening in your life for the next 8 years. So think about what these last 18 months has really shown you, what has shifted in your perspective and your beliefs and in your understanding. And notice what comes up for you at this time during this eclipse, because there can be some kind of event that takes place, or there's some kind of shift in awareness where you're just like, oh, now I see it. So stay vigilant, and thanks for being here, and I will catch you next time. Thanks so much for tuning in with me today. For more astrology in your world, you can connect with me on all platforms at Astro Catherine, and for a limited time, you can also book your one-on-one mini eclipse reading, and I look forward to diving in with you.